Hello everybody, welcome back. So this time we're still working with 𝐿enchantedmakeovers.org, and this week I'm going to be making capes for their 𝐾𝐸, I guess. I don't remember the name of it, I'll have to look it up, but their cape project. And these are basically little capes that the children in shelters and things like that who have had a very hard time can have, and they will own them, and they will be able to put their name on them, and you know, they become their own property. A lot of times they don't own anything of their own when they're put into that circumstance, and it's kind of empowering for them. So not only that, but for me, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, having a something over your shoulders, it's almost like protection, you know. It's kind of like your little protective armor, kind of like when you had a blanket put over you, you felt a little bit stronger. At least I did. That's what I'm feeling with this. So if you go on the website, 𝐿enchantedmakeovers.org, there's going to be a list of projects, or a tab, I think, for projects. And if you click on that, there's going to be one for the cape project. And you click on that page, there's going to be a place to download a pattern. And that is this pattern here, okay? So that's what we're going to be using for this project. They ask for the cape to have two kinds of fabric. One is a print and one is a solid. So you're going to need that. And the other thing you're going to need is a piece of Velcro for the closure. It has to be Velcro. You don't want any hooks or buttons or anything like that, just for safety reasons for the kids. So a 2-inch piece of Velcro. I got mine. So that's going to be good. So we're going to go ahead and make the pattern, and then we're going to walk through constructing one, decorating it, and I hope you can join me, because honestly I've already made one and they're so easy to make, and you only need a yard of fabric of each color, and I'm sure we've all got that laying around, and it's just fun to do something easy that's decorative, and honestly it makes you feel good knowing how it's going to be used. So let me go ahead and tip the camera down and let's get started.
Hi everyone, this is Terry Grail with Enchanted Makeovers. I'm the founder and CEO of a national nonprofit. One of our programs is called Capes for Kids. It is not about Superman. We believe every child has everything within him or her to be their own superhero. It really began as I was watching the news many years ago, and a mother was sharing with her son to give it up. No one's going to come here and save us. And in that moment, yeah, I began to cry, but I always share what are tears if there's no action. So I reached out to a woman in North Carolina, and she shipped 25 capes here in Michigan, and went to a local shelter, and the kids just came to life. They began to sing and twirl, and I knew in that moment we needed to have it as one of our programs. We have a no-sew pattern and a sewing pattern, so children can support children. It's become a team building project for corporations. And we just encourage you to check out the website to learn more about the program. The capes do go out nationally and locally. So go to 𝐿enchantedmakeovers.org, and I hope to hear from you soon. Thank you so much.
Okay, so the pattern, it's a three pages, I think. And they're going to give you your list of things you need. In addition to the fabrics, you're going to need a 2-inch piece of Velcro to close the cape in the front. It must be Velcro. You cannot use a button or a hook or something, just for safety reasons. You know, when the kids are running around, it needs to be able to pull open. So that's one thing. And then after that, some optional things are marking pins, fusible web for appliques and things like that, but we'll get into that later. So first of all, there's a diagram down here that is showing the dimensions of the pattern piece. And what I would recommend is, if you think that you're going to make more than one of these, to actually make a pattern. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is get my roll of paper out here. Try to get my camera centered. And I'm going to need a roll that is at least 18 inches wide, because that is the widest part of the pattern. And as you can see right here, and I'm going to roll out a piece that is over 30 inches long. Okay, so now that I have that, let me see if I can get more in here. The first thing I'm going to do is square up my very top. so I have my paper on my grid here, so it's pretty much squared up according to my grid on the bottom. So I'm just going to find a place over here where I can draw a straight up and down mark, and this is going to be my top edge, okay? So that is this part here. Then I need to go down 4 inches at the 12-inch point. So put this ruler over here. This is 12 inches right there. I'm going to come down 4 inches, which is right there. Okay, put a little kick out so I know that's it. And then they want you to go 3 inches in. Okay, so still saying parallel over here. Getting my ruler all lined up. I'm going to draw from that 3-inch point back out. Okay, so there's that top part. Now I need to go down 30 inches to start with. Okay, so I'm going to put this little weight up here, and my ruler is 24 inches, so that's actually very helpful. Let me move you down here. Okay, so at that 24-inch point, I'm just going to make a little mark, and then I need to go down 6 inches beyond that, which is right here. Okay, so I just put a little mark down there. Now, at this 24-inch point, I'm going to measure out 18 inches. Okay, so right here, I'm going to put my ruler flat on the edge and come out to where 18 inches is, and that's how wide my paper is. You can't see that, but trust me, it's the very edge of my paper over here, okay? But I'm going to put a little line. Oh, I need a bigger camera range. Okay, so I just put a little mark over here where that 18-inch point is. Now, I'm going to freehand this. I think that's the best way to go. This mark down here where 30 inches is, I need to connect it in a swoop to this point, okay? So I'm just going to kind of go like that. That's going to be the bottom of my cape. Then up here, I'm going to connect this point to this point up here. So come up, and there you go. That is the cape. This part here is going to be on a fold. Oh, you cannot see that. Okay. This part here is going to be on a fold, so I'm going to put that little code right there. Okay. And so when I put it away, I can remember. I'm going to write everything about it. EnchantedMakeovers.org cape. Cut 1 solid. And cut 1 print. And both of them are on fold. Okay, so that way when I put this away and I pull it out years from now, I'm like, what in the world is that? I have all my information I need. So now I can just cut out around my outside point, and this pattern is going to be ready to go. Okay, so I have my 2 pieces of fabric cut out. I've got my print in my flannel, okay, and I've got my solid in this woven fabric. They're both 100% cotton. They've both been pre-washed. I need to iron them so that I can get the wrinkles out before we get started. And yes, it's pink, and yes, it's red, but I think that the little red in the flowers kind of go with this, and this is kind of superhero-ish. And so I think that that is going to work. So let me go ahead and iron it, and we'll be right back. Okay, so now that everything is ironed, I am going to place my red fabric. If you had a right side or a wrong side, it's face up is the right side. And my print fabric face down. I want my right sides together. And I'm going to pin it very carefully all the way around so that the two match up. Now, while I'm doing this, I want to mention my red fabric is very lightweight. It's not really stable, so it's important to me that I put my two fabrics together before I put my applique on the back, because I think it's going to hold a lot better. If your solid fabric is very sturdy, very stable, and you don't have that problem, if you want to put your applique on first, you know, that's fine. But if yours is as, you know, wishy-washy as mine is, I think it's good to go ahead and sew the two edges together first. So once I have this all pinned together, what I'm going to be doing is, I don't know why that's there, leaving this top part open. Basically, I'm going to at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. You know, you can pick your seam allowance. I'm choosing 1/2 inch. Starting about 2 inches in, just randomly, I'm going to come down, pivot here, go down, pivot here, come all the way over, pivot here, go down, and connect it all the way around. And then on the opposite side, coming up again about 2 inches on this side, okay? So let me go ahead, get this pinned, get that sewn on just with a regular straight stitch, and then I'll be back. So the machine I'm going to be using today is my Meister. Love her. This was the one that was my grandmother's machine. And I'm choosing her because to do the applique, I'm going to need to be able to go for a zigzag. So since she's good at that, that's what we've got. I'm using thread that matches my solid color because it's the darker one. If you have a dark color and a light color, try to choose a thread that's more in line with the darker color. At least that's kind of the standard I usually go with. So let me go ahead and get stitching all the way around this cape, and then we'll flip her right sides out. Okay, so I've got it sewed all the way around, and at this point in these corners here, I want to clip diagonally to within just a fraction of an inch of that corner so that I can turn it well. Also, these two corners here and this corner down here, especially if you have a bulky fabric, I am cutting diagonally, leaving about 1/8 of an inch at the corner there, so that when I flip it right side out, it's not going to have as much bulk there. So I'll do that to both sides and the bottom corners. And then, since this upper part here is open, I can go ahead and reach through and pull it right side out to turn it. Okay, so now that I can flip it right side out, don't lose my Velcro, I'm going to take my rounded, tipped, handy dandy metal chopstick and use it to push out the corners, okay, down below, and this little part that sticks out at the front here. And once I have it pretty well in place, I need to go over to my ironing board and press this side edge, okay? So I want to press it so that hopefully the print side is not showing, okay? I want to try to be real careful and get a nice edge there and press it all the way around. When you get up to the top part here, hang on, let me flip this out real quick here. You're going to want to turn under the top the same amount as your seam allowance. Mine is, you know, 1/2 inch-ish, all the way across of both the print and the solid fabric. So you'll have a nice folded edge up there. I wanted to point out, as I am pressing it, and I'm really only doing like maybe about 6 inches or so at a time, taking my little sweet time here and enjoying the process. After I press that part, I am coming back and putting a little straight pin there just to hold it in place, because that's going to come in handy because we're going to have to top stitch this entire thing once this is done. So take your time. This is a very gentle curve here, so you shouldn't have to do, you know, clipping or grading or things underneath there. You know, if your fabric dictates it, be my guest, but for me, just simply turning it under is doing fine here, okay? So that's the red side, that's the white side. Looking good so far. Let me finish pressing all the way around. Okay, so at this point I have all of my edges pressed and pinned all the way around, and up here at the top it's pinned closed. When I'm actually sewing it, I'll try to adjust it so I don't see that flannel part. But what I'm going to do is come back and edge stitch it all the way around, a pretty small edge stitch. I'm going to go for a 1/16 of an inch, and I actually have a special edge stitch foot. I have a few of them. This is a 1/16 of an inch foot. So if you have one and it's got a little flexible blade here and it's offset by that much, so that I can just, run it down the edge and it's going to automatically set my needle in that much, that's what I'm going to be using. You don't need that. Just be careful. Go all the way around the entire thing, and the edge stitching is what's going to close up this top part. Okay, so on the instructions, they're going to want you to put the applique on before you put your little Velcros on. But since I'm going to use a straight stitch for this, while I'm in the straight stitch mode, I'm going to go ahead and put them on now. So this is my right side. This is the side that's going to have my design. I haven't figured out exactly what I'm going to do there yet. So on the instructions right here, it has the instructions for how to sew the fastener on. And they want you to put your 2-inch piece. So there's about a 1/2 inch or so at the bottom, and about, it says 1.5 inches at the top. Well, I think that my little piece is a little bit longer than they must have. I'm actually going to trim these down. Well, this is 2 inches, but you know what? So that I have more on the top, and I think it's so that this part can kind of fold down a little bit like a collar, or else it's going to stand up really, really high. I'm just going to go ahead and cut it in half. I think that's going to be fine, because this is a very firm Velcro. There's different grades of it, and this is very stiff. Okay, so it says, laying the cape with the right side of the fabric towards you, that's my red, pin one side of the Velcro to the right collar edge, see the illustration. They don't say if it's the loop part or the soft part or the hard part, okay? So just because, I'm going to go ahead and put, the tougher part out here, setting it so that it's basically inside of the seam allowance and I have more of a gap on top. I am just going to kind of clip that on there, and these need to be sewn on, so I'm just going to sew around the outside edge, just, a 1/16 of an inch or so in. After that, or honestly even before, what I'm going to do is, these little corners can be a little bit painful, so I'm going to kind of round those off so that they don't have the opportunity to kind of want to stick into somebody. So I think with those rounded, that'll be a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to sew this one right here. Now the other one, if I fold my collar together here, and this is here, the one that needs to attach to it is going to be on the inside of this side, all right? So then I'm going to open this up, and let me round off these corners too, just to make them cozy. Because it is like a piece of plastic, So then on this side, setting it in, again, about 1/2 inch or so on the bottom, about the same amount of spacing here on the top. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch this on just with a straight stitch, about a 1/16 of an inch in all the way around. So if you can see, that's my edge stitch there. All right, so about the same distance that my stitching is from the edge in is what I'm going to do all the way around both pieces of Velcro. Okay, so I've got my Velcro on. Looks pretty good. So then this is the front of my little cape. Let me make it a little neater here. I think the idea is that this is going to kind of go like that, and it'll be a soft edge around the child's neck. Okay, so now I need to take a little break and start thinking about what I want on the back. Be creative. Every child is different, so put whatever you want. The one that I made earlier, I actually put a picture of a kitten on the back. I might do something, I'm in the mood to do something cute and that kind of vibe with this one. They also have like really, really superhero-ish kind of things with like the big lightning bolts and an insignia or something in the back. I might do something like that with like a flower or something. I don't know. I'm going to take a break, look for inspiration online, go check the mail because I just heard her coming in, and then I will be back and show you how I'm going to create my applique. Okay, so I am about to get started making my applique, and I'm going to show you the way I do it. It's going to be this little super cat here. Of course, you don't have to do it this way. If you have another method that you can use to trace things over, whether it be tracing paper, carbon paper, whatever kind of tracing method or whatever you might have, help yourself. I'm just going to show you the way that I am doing it. Now, a while back, I did a really quick little video painting something on my wall over there, and I use this camera, and that's what I have bolted to my ceiling right now. And I'll put a link in the description if you're interested. Yes, they sent it to me free, but you know what? It's been darn handy. So that's what I'm using. It's just basically up on my ceiling, and it's just permanently there now. Looks like this. So I found my image on canva.com, and I can go ahead, hopefully get this focused a little bit more so I can get it all connected to my computer. Okay, so I'm not really sure how I'm going to do this because it's in the dark here, but I'm putting my cape down because I want to see about how big the image is going to be on my cape, and I can make it bigger or smaller on my laptop there. And I think that that's pretty good. It's a nice big cat. So the cat itself is supposed to be white, and so that's going to be my main color. And so I am going to do this out of felt. So I have different colors of felt here, and I'm just going to get started with my white. And since that's my main one, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of tape it in place here. Just a little bit to hold it in place, cut off the excess bits that I don't really need right now. And the software I'm using is Canva, and canva.com. I have the pro version because I use it a lot. And just type in what you want, and I typed in Super Cat, and this is what came up. So I think it's pretty cute. So I'm going to use a heat erasable pen and just get started outlining the entire little cat. I had forgotten that I need to put heat and bond on the back of this felt before I start tracing it. So I've just run over to go grab a sheet of heat and bond, and I'm going to be applying it to the back. Thankfully, I just barely got started tracing her before I realized it. And if you're wondering what heat and bond is, it's basically this. It's got like parchment paper backing and infusible stuff here. So if I take my fabric of choice, put it on the sticky side here, and iron it on, then I can peel off the paper backing. And I'll basically have one gigantic iron-on piece. Okay, so now I have it ironed on. This is the little part for the cape. I can peel off my paper backing, and that is good enough that I can go ahead and trace it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, just outlining the main part of it here first. Okay, and then there's a couple little places here where there's a bit of shading. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to do the shading or not, but I have that on there. Okay, so I have my general outline of the cape, so I can cut that piece out. Now let me go ahead and go back to drawing my little kitty, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now I've got it drawn. My projector will turn off in just a moment, and while I have this sitting here on my table, I'm going to go ahead and get my paints, and I am going to, with paint, outline all of the big outline parts in a dark grayish kind of color, not jet black, but just like a dark grayish kind of color. Okay, and so including the little cape. And so let me go ahead and get my paints together. Okay, so there's my little blotch of a grayish kind of color, and I'm just going to get my dry brush and start putting it down. So I'm going to not make you watch me this entire painful process, but when I come back, it'll probably be tomorrow because I'm going to want to let this dry for a while before I mess with it, and hopefully this will be outlined, and maybe I'll do a little bit of shading in these little triangle areas right there. Hello and welcome to the next day. So here's my little cat and here's her cape. Just going to go that way. So I'm going to go ahead and get them cut out. I'm going to start with the cape because I need to cut it, wrong scissors, pretty closely right next to where I did my painting so that it's going to fit on my little kitty cat here. So remember, I did pull that paper backing off, so it is an iron-on at this point. Now while I'm cutting this out, I thought I need to point out the paper backing is still on the back of this piece. That's important because I'm going to have to fuse this on, and if I remove the paper backing off the base beforehand, well, it could just get messier. So leaving the paper on here, this is peeled off, and just trimming around my paint. And I'm just using the little craft store acrylic paints. So now if I set this right here, that's where it's going to go. That's pretty adorable. So I'm just going to go over to my ironing board and iron this on to start with. Okay, I just lightly ironed it. Basically, I want enough so that that fusible stuff is going to start to fuse so that it's going to hold it in place really securely. Because I'm also going to go over to my sewing machine and very carefully right around the edge in a red thread stitch this on. And I'm just going to do that in a regular straight stitch all around the edge. Because this is felt and it has, you know, the heat and bond stuff on it, it's not going to fray, so I think that that's going to be fine. Okay, so now this is sewn on. Don't know if you can see my little stitches there. You can definitely see it on the back. So I have the paper backing here, and I'm going to have to tear it around my stitches. Hopefully this will work out. Let me get something sharp to cut around here. Just so I don't pull anything. Well, that worked pretty good. All right, so I'm just going to pull this backing paper off carefully so I don't pull my stitches out here, and pull it off from the inside too. And then once that is off, then I'm going to trim around my little cat, and I'm going to leave myself about 1/8 of an inch around the edge, and that's where I'm going to be stitching it with a white thread. So let me get all this taken care of, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here she is. Now, I want to point one thing out. This is the first cape I did off camera when I was figuring out how to do these things. Just a regular little kitten. I think she's adorable. This is felt also that I just painted in the details. On this one, I did the whole zigzag all around the edges thing, which is great. And that is what the instructions are going to tell you. If you're going to follow along, she's going to tell you to use the zigzagging method. But because I'm using the felt and everything, I think that it's going to be fine just straight stitching it. I really, really do. And I'm going to do that in a white thread around the border. But I would say if you're using a woven or anything even slightly unstable, you might want to do this where you have the zigzag going around. And no, I am not the world's best, and yes, it did skip right there for some unknown reason. And it holds it on fine, you know, but that's what I did there. Now, because on my first cape, my outside fabric was very stable, I was able to put my applique on before I sewed the 2 layers together, okay? And so if you look on the inside, you don't see any stitches there. Because on this one, this outside fabric was not nearly as sturdy, I sewed it together first. And I think that this is the kind of thing that you just have to use your best judgment based on the fabrics that you're doing and the fabric that your applique is out of and all of that kind of stuff. But I think that you're going to get the idea, okay? So I just wanted to point that out. Just different fabrics and everything. This inside on this one is also a flannel, nice and cozy. The outside is this textured green. And so let's go ahead and get this one positioned here. On the instructions, first of all, I just want to place her on there because that is so darn cute. Okay, so this is the instruction here on placing your applique. It says, on the solid colored main fabric, fold it in half to find the center and then measure down 12 inches from the top edge. Slightly more if you're using the lightning bolt design. I don't know what that is. Mark this point with your fabric pen, pin it, make sure it's level. Okay, so basically we need to find the center of the entire thing right here. And I'm going to stick a pin there. Okay. So where this pin got stuck in right there is the center point. Now I need to measure down 12 inches. Just lay that there so it's pretty straight on this ruler. 12 inches is right here, so placing it down, I'm going to use my heat erasable pen and make a little dot. Not too big, just a little dot. And that's where they want you to, I'm guessing, center your design, which is fine. So I'm looking at it here. Let me raise you up a bit. And I just want to make sure by eyeballing it that it doesn't look like she's too far to one side or the other. Kind of is based on the shape of the applique, I'm thinking. But I think that's pretty good. So what I'm going to do is first iron it lightly so she's going to stay put where she is. Okay, once this is pretty secure where it is, then I'm going to go back to my sewing machine, change out my thread to white, and stitch at about 1/16 of an inch, maybe a little bit more, all the way around so that she's going to be held on secure on her edges. But the fusibility underneath is also going to stabilize her. So it's not just my stitching holding her on, it's going to be the iron-on part too. Okay, I'm going to see if I can do this on camera. I never know how my lighting is going to work. I have gotten spoiled over there on Rosie because her presser foot is on that knee control. But, you know, this takes a little bit longer, but it's okay. I would say if you're using 2 layers, if you're doing like I did where you sewed the layers together first and then put it on, make sure that your layers are sticking together as they should. Mine feel good. And I'm just taking it nice and slow, and I'm stitching right outside of where my little black paint line is. It's a good guide for me to follow. And honestly, if I had a clear presser foot on here, that might make my life a little bit easier, but just my standard zigzag foot is fine, as you can see. And I'm just kind of working my way around. I'm trying to lift my presser foot and turn it instead of just trying to guide it like that, because I don't want anything to stretch out of shape. And I think by doing it this way, I could be pretty safe that way. So I'm almost done. Let me come around this ear and down the front foot, and I'll show you what the stitching looks like. Okay, so back over here at the table, this is it, and I think it's adorable. So from the front, Not sure if you can see, I've got my little stitches going all the way around. From the back, because I used white thread, it's not at a glance, you don't see anything, you know. If I get you close up, you can see the stitches, but it's nothing that's going to cause an issue, and it's going to hold together nice and smoothly, so that's good. So let me go ahead and put her together and everything. This was actually a very fun and pretty quick project. It's fun because you can use your creativity and make something. You can either make, you know, a very boyish kind of design on the back, or a really feminine little cute thing, or something in between. You know, just use your own creativity. I think it's a fantabulous project, and it'll be put to very good use. I enjoy it. I hope you do too. I hope you are able to make a cape and send it over to Terry at enchantedmakeovers.org. If you have any other questions, look at their website. Most of the questions will be answered there. I'm going to throw up the website address, and in my description I'll have the link to this pattern, and I'm going to also put up a link to, she has a new book coming out about the doll program, and I'll put a link to that if I can find it. If not, I'll throw a picture. And yeah, I think it's great. So thank you so much for being here with me and watching me put together this little cape for the youngins. And if you do make one of these, let me know. Throw it in the comments. I'll really be excited to see. So have a great 2025, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.